calls you crazy. After he lied about dying, he actually said, "Let's not add your paranoid hypochondria to this situation, okay? It's bad enough without you backing up a whole dump truck of crazy." A dump truck.
For heaven's sake, context. That's Charlie Yates, the male protagonist.
Protagonist. Honey, my last restraining order had more charm than this guy.
Welcome back to Heartbook Radio, the frequency where literary discourse occasionally survives the host.
And today we're dissecting the Rom-Commers by Katherine, which some think is a searing indictment of Hollywood, but I think is proof positive that some authors just throw darts at a board labeled traumatic life events.
That is not what I said. I merely suggested the book attempts a commentary on the artificiality of
attempts. Bless its heart, like someone attempted to argue that Wuthering Heights was about property law.
It is significantly concerned with entailment and inheritance, unlike the assertion that Kathy just needed better Wi-Fi. We are discussing the Rom-Commers, a book ostensibly about a grumpy screenwriter, Charlie forced to work with a bubbly screenwriter, Emma, to salvage his career.
Bubbly. She's a doormat with a weird thing for nostrils. Seriously, who writes this? It's that teardrop shape they have, like they're James Dean about to smoke a cigarette. Girl, get a grip. Or at least a different fetish.
While the nostril fixation is peculiar, let's focus on Charlie. A reviewer aptly described him as a snobby, condescending man-child. He embodies a certain Hollywood cynicism, viewing love as a Ponzi scheme.
Ponzi scheme. Honey, this guy is the scheme. He finds out he might be dying. Spoiler, he's not. We'll get to that dumpster fire. And instead of, telling the woman he supposedly likes, he gaslights her, calls her paranoid. It's textbook. Just like my ex, Kevin, who swore he wasn't texting other girls. It was just aggressive spam. Aggressive spam named Tiffany.
While I doubt Charlie Yates is texting anyone named Tiffany, his emotional manipulation is pronounced. He actively lies, pushes Emma away under false pretenses, and then has the audacity to say, "Correct, and I would do it again, too." You can't be trusted to do the right thing for yourself. It's paternalistic, controlling.
It's grade A assholery. He needs therapy, not a rom-com ending. And Emma, oh, sweet, spineless Emma. She puts up with all of it. She's got this whole martyr thing going on, taking care of her dad, which, okay, fine. But then she turns around and says the most unforgivable things to her own sister, Sylvie, who's just trying to help.
The dynamic between Emma and Sylvie is fraught. Certainly. Emma accuses Sylvie of abandoning the family. Sylvie fires back with Emma's past mistakes. And Emma then refuses to forgive Sylvie for mirroring her own harshness. It's a fascinating, if frustrating, portrayal of familial resentment and hypocrisy.
Fascinating. It's like watching toddlers fight over a broken toy. And Emma refusing to apologize after Sylvie basically said, "I know you are, but what am I? Grow up, Emma. You can handle Captain Gaslight, MC Nosering, but not your own sister calling you out. Make it make sense." I bet Charlie loved that she had no one else to turn to. Classic Kevin move. Isolate the target.
I highly doubt Charlie Yates operates with the calculated malice of Kevin. He seems more like a case of arrested development, exacerbated by grief and professional failure. But that hardly excuses.
Excuses? Are we even reading the same book? Or did you just read the back cover and call it a day? This brings us to the main event. The absolute circus act at the heart of this thing. The cancer fake out.
Ah, yes. The narrative fulcrum upon which the third act pivots, rather clumsily. Charlie receives a phone call mid-argument, suggesting metastatic lung cancer, based on screening results.
Suggesting they basically tell him he's toast. And then, psych, it was just bronchitis? Bronchitis. As one glorious reviewer put it, in what motherfucking world would a screening test confuse metastatic lung cancer with bronchitis?
Medically, it's improbable to the point of absurdity. The narrative utility seems to be forcing Charlie into a manufactured, dark moment to justify his appalling behavior and subsequent, unearned redemption arc. It feels cheap.
Cheap. It's emotional catfishing. People read rom-coms for witty banter and maybe a heartfelt declaration in the rain, not for a drive by terminal illness plot twist that turns out to be a cough. Imagine people who've actually lost someone to cancer reading this. It's disgusting, one reviewer said. You do not get to use cancer as a fake-out plot twist to emotionally manipulate your audience. You do not. And they are right.
The reader reaction has certainly been visceral. While some 5-star reviews praise the emotional depth, many readers felt, quite understandably, betrayed and manipulated by the trivialization of a serious illness for plot expediency. It's a significant misstep.
Misstep? It's a face planted into a pile of lazy writing. We got a fake email here from Brenda and boys. Dear hosts, I love the Rom-Commers. Charlie reminded me so much of my grumpy cat, Mittens, who also coughs sometimes. 5 stars. Brenda. Honey, no.
While I appreciate Brenda's feline comparison, it perhaps misses the gravity of the criticism. Is there anything redeeming here? The exploration of caregiver burnout through Emma has some resonance. Perhaps. The initial premise of 2 clashing writers?
Okay, fine, the idea of forcing a cynic to write a rom-com isn't terrible, but the execution, woof. And honestly, I kinda liked the fight between Emma and Sylvie. It felt real, messy, but real. Unlike Charlie, I faked cancer and all I got was this lousy happy ending Yates.
So, after all that, the final verdict, it seems almost redundant.
Redundant, never. Okay, rating time. I give the Rom-Commers 2 out of 11 angry reviewer rants. It earned those 2 for the sister fight and the sheer audacity. You gotta respect the nerve. Even when it's terrible.
And I awarded a rating of requires immediate literary intervention. It takes potentially interesting themes, grief, career pressure, family dynamics, and squanders them through unlikable protagonists and a plot twist so egregious it borders on offensive.
Offensive. It is offensive. Don't get all academic on me now.
That's our time on Heartbook Radio. Join us next week when we'll be tackling Gary the Gargoyle's Guide to Grief Counseling. Is that right?
You betcha. Sounds uplifting. Tune in, bookworms, or don't. More rage for us.